from his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. What I don't appreciate, because, listen, I like Dana Cottrell. I like Dana. I do. I like Dana. We had the opportunity to meet during this past season, the FSU game. They're honoring the team of the 90s, you know, this Syracuse team that won multiple Big East champion, you know, the regular season champions and whatnot. So that's all well and good, and talking with Dana is all well and good. But right before we came back from the fast break, Dana, you know, had to put a little dig into me on a season where I felt the pain, where he said, you know what? The Jaguars did beat my Patriots at the beginning of the season. You know, I guess everybody gets lucky sometimes. So, Dana, welcome to the show. Your words are ruthless, and I don't appreciate them, but welcome to the broadcast. How are we doing today?
I'm doing well, Dan. I just want to set it off with I like you too. Look, man, the Jags will be okay. Just don't give up hope. I know you're diehard. You know, everybody on, you know, every team in the NFL aren't set up like the Patriots, man. So, like, set your goals realistically.
And, you know, you bring that up. Not everybody is set up like the Patriots. How would you describe the Patriots setup? This team that just doesn't seem to really ever lose, very, very rarely. I know they did in last year's Super Bowl, but this is a team that, you know, they're the Yukon women's basketball of the NFL. They're the Duke, you know, men's basketball of the NFL, so to speak. Even more so, I would think, you know, even higher than that. How are they set up, in your opinion?
Look, I mean, you start at the top, man. I mean, with Kraft and the move that he made back in the day with bringing in Belichick and, you know, putting in a system of stability and a system of, you know, do your job and be responsible for what you're supposed to do and not try to overdo it. And I think that kind of hones it up, man. The foundation is there. Belichick runs it a certain way, and if you're not on the same page, you're not going to be there. You know, I don't know what you guys call him. Some people call him 12. Some people call him the GOAT. Some people just call him Brady, and some people call him a bunch of other names that I probably can't say on public airways. But that guy, from the top down, the way that he goes about his business, it trickles down, man, and it just feeds to everybody else across the locker room. He works harder than anybody else, and he's 50 years old, as some say it. So I think between Belichick, the system, a guy like Brady, and the way that he carries himself and prepares himself, trickles down to the rest of the team. And I think everybody's on the same page, man. And you know, you can see it. Like, you go back to the Super Bowl game, prior to the game, everybody thought that, you know, there was going to be 120 points scored, and, you know, there was 16. And it goes back to the old rule of thumb: can you play defense and can you run the ball? Like, that's how you win championships. And, like, you can go back to Lombardi days. Like, I remember Coach P saying that, you know. Few of his famous things saying to us when we were in college: they never remember September, and if you want to win, you got to play defense and be able to run the ball. And that's what happened in that Super Bowl game.
You know, and that's the thing. You know, we look at the reality of it all, and the fact of, you know, they're not going to remember September. Like you said, they're not going to remember those moments. The Jacksonville Jaguars went up against the New England Patriots in Foxborough in the AFC Championship, not this season, but a season before, lost by 4 points. And look back at that game and look back at that moment and say, okay, you know what? We have to avenge that. So they get the Patriots at home in Jacksonville. They avenge that, and then nothing after that. They avenge it in September, and it's gone after that. I mean, if I've lived it at all, you know, being, you know, on site, on location, I've lived it in Jacksonville, where they do not remember what you did in September.
Yeah, and I was at that game. I was at that playoff game, and one thing I noticed about those Jaguars, dude, is the talent that they had on the defensive side of the ball was it put a sense in your head that like the league's gonna have to worry about these guys at some point. The way Jack was running around the field, and I was like, we're a few plays away from not winning that football game, right? On the Patriots side, but it goes back to, and I know Coughlin's down there kind of, overseeing things, but it goes back to what's your structure like. And you got a guy like Ramsey that likes to run his mouth a little bit, super, super talented, right? But it goes back to the discipline and keeping everything in your locker room and making sure you're worried about and focused on the people within the building. And you get away from that, you get distracted, man. The season's only so long. So, look, I think there's a talented group, there's talented players across the NFL, but it comes down to believing in your system, believing in your coaching staff, and doing what's right for you and your teammates within the building. So, look, there's going to be ups and downs across the league and across different teams, but you just got to stick to it and make sure you stay within the process. You guys will be all right, man. Don't give up hope.
Speaking here with Dana Cottrell, former Syracuse and New England Patriot linebacker. Dana, I got to ask you, since you're in Philadelphia nowadays, what the conversation is, what you're seeing on TV and on the and hearing on the radio and the newspapers. What's going on with the Nick Foles saga? I have stated that the first domino to fall in a positive Jaguars offseason is the acquiring of Nick Foles as their quarterback. What are you hearing up there?
Look, I've been in Philadelphia since 2003 now, so Philly fans they're grungy, man. They're passionate about their sports. I work with a lot of guys who are pretty passionate about the Eagles. So I will say, post playoff, there's been a lot of silence. The miles haven't been running as they were during the season. But look. They're a talented squad. I got a good friend of mine and Syracuse alum, Dwayne Joseph, who works up there in player personnel. I know those guys are totally focused on getting back to the show like they did last year. But look, it was unfortunate Wentz went down, but very fortunate that they had a guy in Foles kind of in the background that has the experience. Took them to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl behind them. Now there's a little bit, there's a little bit of a jury out on what's going to go on. It looks like Philly did the right thing by, taking the option, and it looks like they're going to do the right thing by him. So there's going to be a place for him. I don't know if it's going to be in Jacksonville, if it's going to be in New York, where it is, but the guy can play. Obviously, he plays well in the big games. They were, they were a catch away from going to the championship game again, right? So. Look, he's got all the talent in the world, and it's going to be interesting to see kind of where he ends up. He shouldn't be a backup quarterback, I don't think.
No, and that's the thing is that, obviously he is there to bail out Philadelphia. He bailed them out this season. He bailed them out last season. He helped this team figure out a way to get to the playoffs when they looked down and out last year, won a Super Bowl with a team that nobody by any stretch of the imagination can take away that has any type of intelligence. So, obviously he's a very, very expensive backup, but, what do you think about Philadelphia saying, you know what, all the eggs are in the basket of Carson Wentz. He's the second overall pick. We trust in him. We believe in him. I get it. He's talented. He's got a lot to give, but he's also a guy that's gotten hurt the last couple of years and a guy that wasn't healthy to be in the Super Bowl or even in that run in the playoffs. So as much as Nick Foles is very, very, very expensive to be a backup, what do you think about the fact that the Eagles will have to lean on a guy who's extremely talented in Carson Wentz, but also often injured?
It's still early on in his career, right? We can go back to, this isn't, I don't think this is an RG3 conversation, right? I think for Wentz, he's super talented. He's very cerebral. I think the loyalty factor for look, they spend a lot of money. One, I think the loyalty factor for Philly is definitely in play. But being that they did kind of retain Foles and they're having an expensive backup in play, it's either maybe there's something in the back of their heads that maybe Wentz won't be healthy, or maybe they have something lined up as far as trade. But it sounds like Wentz is going to be their guy, and I think that's what the community wants around here in Philadelphia, and we'll see what happens. But look, the guy's super talented. He's great with the community. Like, You see it on the TV stations here locally. He's always doing something, in the community with underprivileged kids. And, there's a big story out there with that one unfortunate young boy that passed away. But, he was very involved with his family. He continues to be involved with his family. So, look, it's a lot of times it's not just about football. This guy's a good guy. I think they're going to stand behind him, until they have to move forward. But as long as he's healthy, the dude can play.
That coming from Dana Cottrell, a New England Patriots linebacker, alum, as well as a former Syracuse player. So let's get into the Patriots. Okay, you brought up this statement that there's a bunch of different names for Tom Brady, TB12, the GOAT, this, that, and the other, and then there's names that we can't say on national and international radio. So, what do you think about Tom Brady? Okay, I'm gonna paint the picture here now of not just Tom Brady, but of the team. Okay, so let's handle that first, and let's handle Brady. This team, 9 Super Bowl appearances in the last 18 seasons. 50% of the time, they are going to the Super Bowl. Of the 16 teams that are on the side of the AFC, they are advancing 50% of the time to represent the AFC. In that 50% of the time that they're advancing in the last 18 seasons, they are winning 6 Super Bowls in 9 tries, which is 67% effective. These numbers of any team in any sport are insane. Whether it's a single team, doesn't matter what it is, any sport anywhere, to say that 50% of the time they make the national championship and 67% of the time they win that national championship. Thoughts on those numbers?
It's remarkable, man. It's literally remarkable, and it's special to watch, right? Like, I remember when I was a kid in Boston, man, we used to go over to Sullivan Stadium sometime where my dad would take me, and he was friends with a guy named Julius Adams who played on the team. And I had, we went through those days, and, the 85 Patriots, 85 Bears was the only highlight up until basically, Parcells years when we went back to the other Super Bowl. And then there was another little bit of a drought until Belichick got there. So it wasn't always, roses and teddy bears up there for us. So, look, what Belichick and his regime and Kraft have done, you just lay the numbers out. It's unprecedented, man. It goes back to the system, doing things the right way, and following your leader, if you will. Like, Belichick's a no-nonsense guy. I'm real good friends with Willie McGinnis and William Malloy, and, like, these guys played for Belichick. And they also play for Parcells. And they're a little bit of they have a little bit of the same DNA, right? But anything you hear out of those guys from, how was Belichick as a coach, and how was he, from a disciplinary standpoint, they were just like, man, you didn't mess around. You either did it or you weren't going to be around. So I think all of that folds into the statistics you just talked about. These guys find a way to get into the playoffs and peak at the end of the year. Look, we lost to Jacksonville. I think the week after that, we lost to Detroit. After that, it was like, okay, let's reset a little bit and figure it out. And then they started to peak again. Like, going into that Kansas City game, no one gave us a shot. And I know everyone's like, oh, Patriots, screaming, woe is me again, woe is me, with no respect. But look, like, we're the hated target out there. And to go into Kansas City and win a game like that in overtime, we controlled the game. Third quarter got a little bit shaky, but we controlled that first half of the game. And to go into Arrowhead and do that, that's special, man. And it takes a special group of guys that have the same focus. Like I said, like, be together in the building. Those guys were together in the building. They didn't care what was going on in Kansas City or in the stands. Like, those are the things that, the intangibles that a lot of teams in the NFL they just can't do it consistently. And these guys are really consistent on how they approach their work.
Yeah, we see the consistency of the New England Patriots. Speaking here with Dana Cottrell, Syracuse Orange, as well as New England Patriot linebacker alum. This level of consistency that they have. Everybody wants to talk about Tom Brady, but let's speak on Bill Belichick, because Belichick won games with Matt Castle. He won games with Jimmy Garoppolo. He won games with Jacoby Brissett. He won games with Tom Brady. He's done it with Wes Welker and Julian Edelman and Chris Hogan and Randy Moss and Kevin Falk and James White. and Willie McGinnis, and and so on and so forth. This man has figured out a way. He has figured out a system, an offensive and defensive scheme where he can plug and play the backups, and the third string guy is going to get it done. So we give a lot of credit to Tom Brady, but this is a Bill Belichick thing, in my opinion. What can you say about the coaching, the mind, the scheming of Bill Belichick? Because I think if we're going to congratulate anybody on 6 rings in 9 years, or 6 rings and 9 shots over the last 18 years, I think more than anyone, even more than Brady, we have to congratulate Bill Belichick. Am I wrong in saying that?
I think there's some truth in the statement. Now, I think look, the system and the scheming, incredible. Game to game on that defensive side of the ball, it never looks the same, ever, right? So, like, you go back to the Kansas City game. Kelsey didn't exist. Tyreek Hill took him out, didn't exist. Like, it's scheming week to week, right? They're going to take their best. They're going to take their best guys, and they're going to focus on your best guy, and they're going to take him out of the game. Everybody tries to do it. Nobody's really effective at doing it consistently. Now, where I will take a step back and disagree with you is when you say it's more Belichick than Brady. What Brady's really good at, and there's been a handful of quarterbacks that are good at it. Peyton Manning, Drew Brees is really good at it. And I think Brady is arguably one of the best, recognizing the mismatch and putting that team in the right play against a certain defense. He is, I think, and I watch a lot of football, and I watch a lot of the Patriots games, basically all of them. He's a master at it, literally. Now, going into that Rams game, Wade Phillips called an unbelievable defensive game. Unbelievable. You should see, if you have a football mind and you're watching what these secondary guys are doing, pre-play, they looked up, they're lining up, and man, guys motion him, he's going with him. Next thing you know, they're popping into some type of zone coverage. And it happens quick, and Brady's one of those guys that gets the ball out pretty fast. That's why there wasn't 30-some odd points scored. Wade Phillips called a great game. But, going back to what you were talking about, I do think you have to give Tom Brady a lot of credit. Also, Dante Scarnecchia, who manages that offensive line year in and year out, unbelievable job. Brady didn't get hit for 3 weeks up until Sunday. Ivan Fears, another long-term coach over there, was a Syracuse guy, coach and running backs. You have coaches over there that have been in that system and understand. Dante Scarnecchia is the longest tenured Patriots coach in history. He retired and came back. Like, that guy managing that offensive line and protecting arguably one of their best assets is huge. For a quarterback not to get hit throughout the playoffs is ridiculous.
And we see this, though, and we see, obviously, like you said, given credit all throughout, this Patriots team, and then, the disagreement coming with Tom Brady, picking it apart. I think Tom is a fantastic mind. The question that I have when it's, is he the GOAT? Is he the greatest quarterback of all time? Is the fact that, what'd you say?
Who's better?
Who's better than Tom Brady?
Yeah.
I think if we look at Super Bowl wins strictly, it's got to be Tom Brady. I think if we look at arm down the field, and we look at, because a lot of Brady's hay comes with yards after completion. He's got guys like Edelman and Welker and James White. James White had 751 yards from scrimmage or on receiving, and 665 were after the catch. So Brady only accounted for, maybe 90 of those yards that he actually threw to him. So I look at Elway, I look at Young, there's certain guys, and when I'm looking at somebody that's beaming the ball down the field, I'm looking at Marino and whatnot. So that's, from that standpoint, I don't think he's the guy. From the system quarterback.
I think the argument there is, Dan, you look at Montana, Young, Marino. Look at their receivers. They had guys that can get down the field, right? Like, when Randy Moss was in New England, where did Brady go? Down the field, right? We don't have deep threat. When Cooks was there, down the field. Like, we don't have those assets right now. So they take what? How about this? If he sees a window to go down the field, he's throwing that ball down the field. But he's taking what they give him, and that's part of the system. So if you want to knock a guy for that, so be it. But I still think with the the tools that he has in his toolbox that he's been presented with year after year after year, and it's always different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
I don't think you can really question that he's probably, if not the best, definitely really.
Well, he's
really,
definitely
really
up
close
there.
to the top.
You know, I think if we're talking about championship guys, he's number one. I think if we're talking about if we're talking about scheming, you know, if we're talking about system quarterbacks in the NFL, he's number one. If we're talking about arm, I put him up there, but not top. But
he's 41 years old now.
I know that, but I'm saying arm in general. I'm saying arm in general. I don't think I can call him the golden arm of the NFL of his.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right.
But he's pretty goddamn good.
He's good.
Look what he did when he came back and won that game in Atlanta, man. Every ball he put was on the spot because that defensive coverage was as tight as you've ever seen it. So those are some of the best throws I've ever seen him make.
And the thing is about him is, and the question that comes up, and the question that we've had here on the show, is that Tom Brady has had a lot of success in Bill Belichick's offense. We haven't seen him in anybody else's scheming. We haven't seen him in any other system. We've just seen him in Belichick's system. And when Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett, Matt Castle have stepped into that system, they've won. Matt Castle was 11-5 in the system. So the question that comes up is Tom Brady, does he look, I mean, obviously you got to make the throws and the timing and all that, but does he look better than maybe he would have somewhere else? Because these backup quarterbacks that are behind him that have had to fill in for him, when they leave and they go somewhere else and they make millions of dollars and they're a starting quarterback, Matt Castle, the biggest, kind of definition of what I'm about to say here, is that they look really, 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 really good, and then they go somewhere else and they can't win 3 games to save their life. So
yeah, I guess that's we're never going to really know the answer to that because I don't think you're ever going to see him play anywhere else.
Right. So
that's a hard one to answer, but I hear your argument.
So I think what's fair to say is that Bill Belichick can take a bunch of no names because again, it's a system. He's fitting a system. James White, who is James White in the NFL? Is he on the practice squad? Is he a third string running back? Who is Julian Edelman? Who is Wes Welker was a forgotten guy, is a forgotten guy in the NFL down in Miami. So, Danny Amendola, I should say. So, when we look at the grand scheme of all of this is, where would these guys be if not for being inside of the Patriots scheming inside of Bill Belichick's, kind of blueprint here. So I think more than anything else, and I'm not trying, they got to make the throws, they got to make the catches, they got to get the interceptions, they got to make the tackles and the sacks and whatnot. I'm not taking that away from the players. I'm saying that I think that above everything, Bill Belichick is the reason why all of these no-names become names in the NFL because take them out and they're interchangeable. If they lose a guy, there's some random no-name Bob Smith that comes onto the team and he's got 1,000 yards receiving because they figure out a way to do it. And I think above everything else, we have to give credit to Bill Belichick at the top of the heap in this one.
I'll go with you on that. Look, like I said, man, he figures out a formula to with the chemicals that he has, I guess, and he's really, really good at it. And to further your point, anyone who's left there, and we're not just talking quarterbacks, we're talking like receivers. Anyone who's left there hasn't really gone on to do much. Now, I guess the one thing you can say is coming through that system and doing well in that system to get you paid. You look at Deion Branch, right? Like he was unbelievable in the Patriots uniform. He left, and he had a couple good years after that, and then it's kind of fell off. But so I do agree with you in that sense that Belichick has a way of taking kind of, I guess, the ordinary guy and put him in a situation and putting him in play to kind of be successful. So kudos to him. But I'm a huge Belichick fan. I'm a huge Brady fan. I'm a huge Patriots fan. Beantown stand up. This is what we do. We win championships. It was just, I think 95 or 97 days before our was our last one when the Red Sox won. So we're having a good year in Boston.
Yeah, Boston with the Bruins, the Celtics, the Red Sox, the Patriots, and obviously with the Boston Marathon. There's a lot of great things that are happening in Boston. And also in Boston, the Massachusetts area, is a place called Wahlburgers, which is amazing. So I gotta got to give it up to Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, as well as Mr. New Kid on the Block, Donnie. But
he's got one right here in Philly too, man. They're spreading out. They're going.
I know they're in Toronto. I know. I mean, I was up there in Toronto. I saw one up in Toronto. So, but no. I mean, to your point, to both of our points, Wes Welker, went to Denver. How many people know that Wes Welker went to St. Louis and finished off his career as a Ram? Who knows? You know what I mean? So Wes drops off, Deion Branch drops off, Danny Amendola drops off. These guys just kind of fade off into the sunset after leaving the Patriots. So this is my question to you. Why can't anybody figure out Bill Belichick? Like, you remember back in the day, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban were both on the Cleveland Browns staff, and the team sucked. And then Nick Saban came into the NFL again with the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins sucked. But now Nick Saban is the guy you don't want to play in college. Bill Belichick's the guy you don't want to play in the NFL. What is going on with Bill Belichick? Why is Bill Belichick? I mean, what is it about him? I mean, it's kind of like Stephen King. When Stephen King is no longer a part of this world, and granted, I'm not saying I want him to go anytime soon, but you want to pick apart his brain to figure out if there was either a piece missing or an extra piece, because there's something different about his brain. Bill Belichick, there's like a left brain, a right brain, and then there's like a left, a southeast corner of his brain where God just put a bunch of extra information. What is going on with nobody can beat Bill Belichick? Hardly ever. The NFC East can, but nobody else can.
He's a mad scientist, I guess, man. Like maybe he does have an extra chromosome or something, but he from what I hear is he puts his team, he shows his team every situation so they're not going to be surprised when they see it. You might not see it till week 10, but you're going to see it eventually. You know what I mean? So, I think the way that they prepare up there is just different, man. I've gone and watched practice. I've gone up to training camp and see how they kind of drill. And it's being around, different training camps in the past, it's just different. It literally is different. And there's no nonsense approach to it. So I think he really just overcovers things and just puts guys in situations where they're prepared for, the unknown, whenever it's going to happen. So I just think he's better at preparing guys than anyone else. And he's seen everything, especially being a defensive-minded guy. Look, no one ever says anything about the Patriots defense, right? The way that this team, like Hightower, come on, man. Van Noy, those guys played lights out in the Super Bowl game, and no one's gonna give them that recognition. But that goes back to scheming from Belichick. Belichick's a defensive-minded guy. Flores going to Miami, he's gonna probably be successful down there. But him having that Bill Belichick tutelage, I think just gave him a good opportunity and a good shot to not only get recruited, within the conference, but two, to have a defensive product on the field for the season, especially the last 5 games of the year that really, really outperformed.
And I think, it is, and you bring up a good point here. This defense, and again with the defense, this defense just figures out ways to get better as the season progresses. It's a defense that, what do we hear? The secondary's not that good. They can't get to the quarterback. George O'Leary told me a few years back, the former Syracuse assistant coach and obviously former UCF head coach, made a statement to me. He said, you build from the inside out. The offensive and defensive line. He said, if you are not building in the trenches, you will never win a championship. That is where championships are born. That is where they come from. If you don't know that, you're not winning. He made it very, very, very clear. And what did the Patriots do? They won at the line of scrimmage, offensively and defensively. They were a nightmare in the Super Bowl. And, nobody talks about their offensive line or their defensive line or their ability to attack. And I just kind of sit back every year and question the fact of why don't people say anything about what they do at the line of scrimmage?
Well, you know why. It's because I know you don't think so, but you have arguably the best quarterback in the history of the NFL standing behind that offensive line, right? So that's where the focal point goes. And we know that as football fans, we love offense and we love to see high scoring games and things like that. But that's why I think defense is always a little bit overlooked. But if you're a fan and offensive run. So you can go back to the Steelers teams back in the day, when Bettis was there, and they had that defense that was just causing havoc all over the place. They ran the ball and they played defense. And when it comes down to it, you saw what happened, this past Sunday, and even in prior games, man. Like Sony Michel, no one's talking about him. He had an unbelievable second half of the season after being injured, middle of the season, right? Like, those are the little intangibles. But like you said, man, when you got a star quarterback that can, there's arguably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and well, definitely will be. That's where the focal point goes. By the way, shout out to my man Ty Law for getting into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely. With Ty Law and I have Ty Law cards. I remember, I've collected all my life, so I have all that stuff. And Drew Bledsoe, I think, was the first jersey that I had because I was just a really big. I was a fan of Drew Bledsoe. I was a fan of quarterbacks. I liked Bledsoe. I liked Favre. I liked Aikman and Marino and whatnot. But when we look at this, speaking here with Dana Cottrell, Syracuse Orange and New England Patriot linebacker alum. Like you said, Sony Michel, and a lot of people not talking about him. He has been spoken about on this show over and over and over again, and I agree with you that we don't talk about him enough, but I will also make the statement that I love to talk about him because I watched him in the championship game against Alabama with Georgia and him and Nick Chubb, and I've been following these two Georgia guys and looking at what they've been able to do, and the fact that Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, I believe, both finished their rookie season this season with over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. So Sony Michel has 931 yards on the ground and receiving. Sony Michel had 50 yards, kind of quiet there, here in the regular season, but, obviously did more in the postseason and whatnot. He has been such a big piece to this, and I think, with the Patriots, the James Whites and the Cordero Pattersons and the Rex Burkheads and the Kenyon Barners and Jeremy Hill, these are guys that were, kind of washed up, or they're nobodies and no names. They pick them up here, they put them there. The Patriots could scour the practice squads of 31 other NFL teams and find all-pro guys to run the ball. When they went and they drafted, and that is the system of Bill Belichick, when they drafted Sony Michel in the first round, I said to myself two things. 31 teams in the NFL just had a collective gasp that they let it happen. And secondly, if they're drafting a first-round running back, they're stating to you, for the first time that I've seen in the Bill Belichick era, that they're going to go after their between-the-tackle running back, and they're going to pay him what he deserves. Because a lot of these guys, the James Whites and the whatnot, you're picking these guys up as you go. You're just finding the crumbs that were left by other teams, and you're turning them into something. You're Tarantinoing the thing. We're going from like the end of their career, and now we're resurrecting. We're bringing it all back. With the case of Sony Michel, it was a different world. They went out and they got a guy who people respect, who is coming off of a national championship opportunity, who came from Georgia, which is a storied program, and we all knew about if you were following college football. So as soon as they did that, I knew that this was a little bit of a transition for the Patriots. They said, you know what, Tom's getting a little bit older. We need a between-the-tackle guy. We need to let him run the ball so that Tom doesn't have to do as much, and this guy can take care of it. I thought this was a really interesting move by the Patriots to go and get themselves a name running back as opposed to just finding somebody on somebody else's team that somebody forgot about.
No, totally. They definitely. I mean, like you said, man, they normally don't spend money there, right? So it was definitely a sign to refocus on the running game. Look, you just said a stat, right? You said he had 50 yards receiving out of the backfield. They're gonna always have this two-back system, right? Where they're gonna have a guy to the likes of White. Remember back in the day when they had Kevin Falk, he was that kind of guy. But now when they have a guy that can, they can focus on running in between the tackles. It just makes your team more dangerous, especially in a play-action game, man. So, and like you said, Brady's not going down the field. It's these short passes, and like that play action. That's where it frees up those deep shots down the field when you get one-on-one coverage, right? So it's all part of the scheme, and it's all part of the science behind how Belichick's formulating his offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of success that's coming on this running game. And with Sony Michel, it gives James White some more. It gives Rex Burkhead some more. And this Rams defense, you brought it up. Wade Phillips called a great game as defensive coordinator. He's one of those coaches that's not necessarily a great head coach, but he's a really good he's a really good defensive coordinator. And you got Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh and Aqib Talib and so on and so forth on this team. Did a tremendous job. But what happened to the Rams is what I believe happened to the Jaguars in the AFC Championship game a couple seasons ago, and that is the fact that they played a lights-out, shut down, for the most part, defense. But when you are on the field over and over and over again and your offense is giving you no opportunities, especially late in the game, you are going to falter. You are going to have your moments. People talk about, these are NFL guys. They shouldn't be fatigued. Listen, if you're on the field the majority of the time, Jared Goff did nothing. The offensive line that was voted the best offensive line in the country looked like the 31st offensive line in the country. So the reality of it all is Jared Goff did nothing. The offensive line did nothing. Todd Gurley, for some odd reason that nobody has still answered this question.
That was crazy.
and we'll talk about that in a second because I'm in the twilight zone right now, with I don't get it. So all of that stuff goes on. At the end of the game, the Patriots always seem to have a pocket of energy that they can store better than everybody else. And then they just use it. It's kind of like being in Mario Kart and holding on to one of those things you pick up, and then when you're in second place, you just throw it at the end, and then you win the game. That's what the Patriots do, and at the same time, as good as any defense is, Jaguars last season, Rams this season, you're going to eventually get tired when you're on the field the majority of the game. It's just a fact.
No, that's true. That's true. And look, we've been in a lot of situations, or I don't say we, the Patriots have been in a lot of situations where they've had to come back and win it with 2-3 minutes left in the game, and that's all part of preparing for that, right? Like, you think they're not up in Foxborough doing 2-minute drill every single day? If you don't think that's happening, you're crazy, right? Like, they are prepared for those situations, and what it takes is the defensive on one play, 2 plays, 3 plays to not be ready for a situation that they see. Oh, this situation looks foreign to me. Like, what are we doing? Next thing you know, the ball snapped and the ball's out, and that's what it takes. And they just do it better than the majority of the teams in the NFL, man. They
do. They just do it well. So let's get into this before we let you go this morning. Speaking in the first hour with Dana Cottrell. Dana Cottrell, Syracuse Orange and New England Patriot linebacker, alum, born and raised in Massachusetts, now in Philadelphia. That's got to make for a very schizophrenic type of lifestyle, Dana. But to be where let's get into the Todd Gurley conversation, okay? Because I read on the show that Jared Goff said, "I want to get him the ball. He's a weapon, but I don't call the shots." We got Sean McVay saying, "Oh my God, I was so flustered. I didn't even know where my pen was, and I didn't know, I didn't have an apple that morning, and I just kind of, we're hearing a frantic. And obviously I'm making up. He didn't talk about pens and apples, but he might as well because nothing made any sense. And then Todd Gurley says, "No, I was healthy. I was good to go. I'm not injured." So you have the arguably the best running back in the nation. You have a guy who's making $50-some-odd million guaranteed, or I'm sorry, $54.5 million contract, I think it is, majority of it guaranteed. You just paid this man over $50 million. You said to this man that he is the greatest running back in the league right now. You paid him as such, and he is on the sideline with his helmet on and mouth guard watching Jared Goff and this offensive line run around in circles and chase butterflies. Please tell me what the hell happened here.
I was sitting on my couch, and I was in shock, dude. I'm just like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, what are they doing? And I was happy about it. Don't get me wrong, because you put that guy in a game, he's a weapon. But he's standing on the sideline looking like a lost dog a little bit, and I'm like, what is going on? I thought he was hurt. Looked like he was maybe favoring his leg a little bit, but then they put him in and he looked fine. So, look, I don't have the answers, but thanks, Sean McVay. Appreciate you.
Rob had said to me on yesterday's show, he said, Sean McVay should have known that you key in on Julian Edelman and you take out the best player of the game. And I said, well, Sean McVay did key in on the best player of the game and took him out. He took out Todd Gurley.
try to double team Jules, man. He's so quick. Like you double team him, he's still gonna give you 6 feet of separation. So, and that ball's coming out, man.
He's got to shave that beard, though, man. He's got to shave that beard. That beard is...
That's extra cushion for concussions, brother.
I guess so, because I don't even know how he fits that beard inside of the helmet. I don't know how he gets it in.
He's smarter than you think.
but real, I mean, what this girly thing, I mean, has there, and I know you're a former Patriot, and I know you grew up around it and all that stuff, and I know you're a Patriots fan now through and through and whatnot. I get all of that, but you have to admit to me that when the Patriots play in these big-time games, any game during the season, really, especially when they're close, and especially in the Super Bowl, there's weird stuff that just seems to go their way. And the Todd Gurley thing, like Bill Belichick's got to be sitting there going, I scheme for the best running back in the nation, and Sean McVay is not. But like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, did an Italian guy meet Sean McVay on the field the night before the game and say, hey, you know what? Why don't you know? Is there a Pesci? I'm just telling you, like, is there a Pesci guy out there going, hey, you know what? If you don't play this guy, maybe that'll be okay. I mean, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on in the grand scheme of things. Going, I don't think that you want to mess with me, messing with you, messing with me in this game. I mean, why would you keep Todd Gurley out of the game? What is the mentality of, this is my best player of all three phases of the game? I think that playing the historically best team in the history of the NFL, I think that we should keep our best player on the bench.
Look, it's gonna be a question that no one's gonna have to answer for but McVay. Look, this guy still, Patriot Nation still questioning when they took what's my man we traded to Tennessee, and he's now disappeared, cornerback, Malcolm Butler.
Yeah. Why
they didn't play him against the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
No one knows the answer, and no one's gonna know but the coach. But how about that? That's a big deal, dude. He was playing well all year long, and next thing you know, he doesn't show up. Look, there's unanswered questions only the coaches know the answer to, and just gotta live with it. But I'm happy Gurley didn't play.
It just seems to be, Bill Belichick doesn't need anybody's help, but somehow, some way, Sean McVay. Yeah, and Sean McVay looked completely flustered. And he just turned 33. I'm 30. I've been 33 for a few months now. I'm gonna say two things to Sean McVay. Okay, first of all, I'm a few months older than you. Okay, so I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna give you some wisdom. Okay, you play Todd Gurley. Okay, if you don't play him, if you pay him, you play him. If you're not gonna play him, you're gonna lose him. Okay, it's like being in a relationship. The girl said yes, she started dating you. You put a ring on it, but if you don't appreciate it, it's not gonna be there forever. So that's reality first and foremost, Sean McVay. The second thing I want to say to you is, don't make 33-year-old people look like we're not intelligent, because that's not. Like, don't make me look like I don't have wisdom and that I don't have a few miles, that I've gone in my life. Don't make me look like I don't get it. Don't make me look like what's the generation? It's not don't make me look like a millennial. Yeah, don't make me look like that. Don't do that. Don't do that, Sean McVay.
Maybe you should give him a call, man, and you guys should hash it out. I don't know. And if you find out the answer, just let me know.
I think him and I need to sit down and have a heart-to-heart, and we need to talk about the fact that when you're representing the 33-year-olds of this country, we need to do it a better way. Because, even no matter how nervous he was, sleepless, restless nights, what you wake up in the morning, the day of the Super Bowl, you put a Post-it note on your head that says, if all else fails, play Todd Gurley. That's all. You put a Post-it note on it's the only thing you need to know. Sean McVay has looked like a genius all season long, last season. This is the thing. The only thing you had to remember in the Super Bowl is to play Todd Gurley. It's the only thing. It's like somebody told you were going on a plane overseas and the only thing you had to remember is your toothbrush. And you're like, oh, crap, man, I forgot that I had to brush my teeth when I got over there.
I spaced.
Yeah. I was going to England. They don't brush their teeth. I didn't think I needed it.
You said that, not me.
Listen, I just watch Austin Powers movies. I'm just trying to keep up with the times here. But, the reality of it all is the Patriots, tremendous team. Tom Brady, tremendous system quarterback. Bill Belichick is a mastermind. And my final question for you is, do you have romance in your life that's as strong and as charismatic as Tom Brady with his 12-year-old son?
I got a 6-year-old daughter, Holmes, and she's the light of my life. So yeah, I do.
Which is good. I just hope that if you watch that video, because the way that he kisses his son has left a lot of people feeling a little bit unnervy. So
hey, look, that's family, dude. Like people show love and affection certain different ways.
Yeah.
I'll never go at that. You know, the affection. I love to see it.
I kiss my dad on the cheek, but I'm not like, kissing him on the mouth for 2 minutes. I can't do that. So
come on, Dan.
I'm just saying, I love my father. I love him. But maybe Tom Brady, he's an interesting cat. He likes male Uggs, and Dana, you can't tell me that.
Let's hold on a second. He's got the one to him, obviously. He's got one of the most famous and beautiful wives in the universe,
Giselle,
not in the world,
Giselle.
Right? So let's not question his manhood.
But I will say this though.
You land that, you're doing something right, homeboy.
But he also has a love child with Bridget Moynihan, who is also one of the most.
Right, I'm done. You're not going to get me into this one.
No. Listen what I'm going to say, Dana. Listen what I'm saying, Dana. Live radio here. Listen what I'm saying. He has Giselle. He had Bridget Moynihan. Two of the most beautiful women ever to be created by God on this planet. So I think, he's doing okay for himself.
No, he's doing great. And he loves his kid. And that's more beautiful to me.
Yeah, and it's tremendous. I like the fact that, Bill Belichick, it was funny when they asked his granddaughter, when they put the mic to her and she had that scowl, I was like, oh, the family's the same.
Good stuff.
You just see it come from that. Bill Belichick, man, just getting it done. Tom Brady doing his thing. All jokes aside, this team is the team that nobody wants to play, nobody wants to face. Brady said he wants to play until he's 45, and everybody thought that was a joke. I don't think it's a joke. I think he's going to play into – and I will tell you this. When Brady and Belichick decide to co-retire, I think Jesus is going to come back. I don't think we're going to have 5 minutes in between. I think Jesus is coming.
We've got 5 years left then, bro.
we got 5 years to get this ship together.
That's right.
So Dana, you can get on my ark. I'm gonna let that happen. So
man, I appreciate it. Can I bring 2?
You can bring 2. Yeah, you can bring 2.
Sweet.
We'll hook you up. We'll keep you safe. So,
all right, man.
With that being said, congratulations on your win. I'm sure it's exciting to wear your Patriots stuff in Philadelphia, but I know that you'll do it proud.
Of course I will. And go Syracuse, man. You know my first blood buys. But I appreciate you having me on, Dan.
Absolutely, and congratulations. I'll talk with you soon.
All right, brother.
Take care.